one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? And in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform many miracles? Then I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. Rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against the house. Yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against the house, and it fell with a great crash. When Jesus finished saying these things, the crowds were amazed at his teaching, because he taught as one who had authority, and not as the teachers of the law. Lord, may your word today, Lord, resonate in our heart, Lord, but it may do more than that. May it make us, Lord, may it want us, Lord, to do something about it, and to put our feet and our minds and our hearts to what you have for us today. So, Lord, bless these words, bless this message, and as always, we give you praise and glory. Amen. You know, I heard a story recently. I was reading some article somewhere, and I read this story about this lady who was really depressed, and she wasn't feeling good about things, and just wasn't having a good time. And as she was sitting there kind of depressed with her head down, she looked up, and to her surprise was within arm's reach was a jar of vanilla frosting. And she looked at that jar and thought, man, you know what, that'll make me happy. So she picked up the jar and she walked into the kitchen and she got a spoon out and she took the lid off of it, you know, all that little foil thing on the top. I know you guys have been there, you guys have been there. You know, and you see the frosting there, and she puts that first spoonful in there, and it's like, wow. Instant gratification. She just felt so good, so happy that it just kind of melted all her ugliness and all that was going on in her life. And she just, at that moment, just felt, wow, this is good. He says, so I'm going to have another. And so she dipped it in there, went around again, and had another. Same satisfaction. She was still feeling pretty good about it. And this tastes so good. It makes me feel happy. And her whole demeanor kind of changed. And so she continued it one after the other. And as she continued to get deeper into that jar of stuff, she began to not to feel so good. And she started to feel a little bit of aches here and there in her stomach. She realized that only lasted just a little bit of time. And I think sometimes for us, you know, it's this story this morning is a lot like that in our own lives, because you know, for us, it's sometimes we just want to be happy. And we want to be happy now. And just like the wise and foolish man, the one on the sand, you know, he looked over at the rocks and go, no, that's going to take too much work. I'm not even going there. But this sand is easy to grade out on a nice level. I can put my feet out. You know, when you go to the beach, you kind of wiggle your toes in the sand. It feels so good. The stream was right there near him. You could hear the water. And so he built his house right there. But see, the other guy knew. He thought, had a little bit of forethought. He thought about what was going to happen down the road. And so this story isn't so different from our own story. And sometimes how we need to look at our foundation, and what are we building our own personal life on. I mean, it's so easy to pull that lid off of that frosting and start to get into it. And you can get in the sand and move around it however you want, grading the side, making it level. You can even sometimes do it by hand. But I tell you what, when the rains fall and the floods come and the wind comes up and starts banging against that house, in the same way, that good feeling kind of goes away. And unfortunately, it goes along with the house that you built there. And so the words of Jesus here in the Sermon on the Mount are a solid rock upon which we can build a strong, stable, and truly happy life. And this life is filled with this peace and this joy. It's a deep down satisfaction that you know that everything's going to be okay. And the neat thing about it never fades away. And the happiness that comes from eating that frosting fades away. But the joy that comes from building your foundation on Jesus Christ never fades away. Amen. And that's what I want to share with you this morning and show you what Jesus means by this, because he's trying to show these ones, come on. And so the first thing I saw in this whole passage was there's two, Jesus is, in his parables a lot of times talks in contrasts, and there's normally not a bunch of them. There's one or the other. And so the first contrast I've seen here is there are hearers and there's doers. And the hearers, it's funny they call them hearers, because the hearers are the people that talk the most. I kept thinking about that. They're supposed to be the hearers, but they're the ones doing the talking. They're the ones that never stop. I'm going to do this for God. I'm going to do this. I've done this. I've done this. Well, why are they saying so much about it? And they never really do anything that they heard. I think maybe they spend so much time talking and think about what they're going to say, they miss the message. They miss what God wants them to do. And I think many times the hearers are the ones who really, truly want to please themselves. I think that happens to us. We're humans. We're part of the world, and we get trapped in that we deserve this, we deserve that. I deserve that because I went through this. I just thank God that Jesus didn't say that when he was crucified. When he tried to talk to his Father, he was no different than us. Father, does it have to be this way? Are you sure? And then there's the doers, the ones on the other side. They say and do what's pleasing to God. They're building upon the rock. It means they're listening to God and they're following him. And the thing is, they're not doing it for any other reason than they love him. And this is the point that God's really been placing on my heart is how to communicate that to you. Because so many times the church and religion gets into the law. Because I think we like to simplify it. Okay, Pastor, if I do this, then I'm going to give that. That's got nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with what he's already done for you in love. And for you to be so grateful, so amazed, so out of your mind, so your heart filled so much with so much awe that you just want to do something back for him. And you don't want anything back. You just want to do it because he loves you. And that's what the doers do. Just because he loves me, then I want to love him back. I don't want anything back. I'm not waiting for something back. And so many people think, well, if I do this, I'm going to get that. And we go through life that way, never getting that, because we're truly not doing it with a heart of gratitude, a heart of love for him. The other area I saw in this passage was there's builders and buildings that are here. And here's some important facts I pulled out of this passage. It's interesting because neither house is judged on their building. And I read that over and over again, trying to know it is. I thought it was, but it isn't. Neither house is judged on its building. So you could build a Taj Mahal, and you could build a shack, and God wasn't judging that. God was judging the foundation that it was built on. But so many of us think it's about the building. But if I build it up, it's going to be good. But if you're building it up on the wrong foundation, okay, it's going to go away. See, the building, the actual building, I think I look at it as my outward religious life. What am I showing outwardly in my religious life? That's my building. And my building comes from my foundation. And so if I'm truly in love with God, my heart is totally surrendered to him, and I'm just giving my all in all, the best I can, it should come out in my life, in the way I act towards you, the way I'm patient with you, the way I have joy, the way I have kindness, the way I have faithfulness, the way I have gentleness, the way I have self-control should come out of me, because that's my foundation. And it's a good way to look at it, to see, what is your foundation built on? Are these things coming out of it? Are the fruits of the Spirit coming out of your foundation? Do you have love in your life? Do you love everybody? Because you can't pick and choose with God. And I thank God he didn't pick and choose with me, because he could easily pass me by. All the junk I've done, and all the junk you guys have done, I've heard some of your guys' stories. You're worse than I am. I'm like, why did God ever save you? Because he loves you. That's the only reason.
Amen.
In the building, we have to look at the building. You know, when you build a building, you know, your foundation gives you stability. And you have that stability in your own life. You know, from the text, I think we have to assume that both houses looked attractive. I think they probably looked pretty decent. I think they were substantial, so they looked like they could take something. And I think even the correct building methods were done in both. If they had a guy come out to give them an okay on or a permit on what they were doing, I think they would have both got an okay on it. Both looked direct, both looked firm, both looked strong. I think it's like, that same thing is like building our own character. When we build our own character, many times, you know, I hear people say, but I'm a good person. You know, I give to this, I volunteer here, I don't take drugs, I don't drink, I don't even smoke, I don't even swear. What is your foundation built on is my question. And if it's not Jesus Christ, when that storm comes, it's going to go away. When you come to the end of your days here on earth, you're going to go away. That's what the Word says. That's what I believe. So many times we feel like we're a good person, and I believe in God. That's back to the hearers, the people who are talking. What are you doing with that information is my question this morning. And then we have the builders. You have the wise one who built this stuff on the rock foundation. You know, you look over there, I can just imagine the two guys walking up the stream bed in the Mediterranean there, and they're looking at the stream, and they're both standing there discussing it, and the one guy's thinking, you know, down the road, you know, right now it's beautiful, it's 80 degrees, you know, it's like in Point Loma, you know, 70 degrees, cool breeze right now, everything is perfect, a nice stream's going through right here. You know, this is going to be so easy, I'll just grade this out right here with my hand a little bit. It'll be easy to put my posts in and all that. And he's probably, the guy who looks over there at the rock on the side of the hill is probably, you know, he's saying, man, you know, I'm just thinking, you know, winter's coming. You know, rain's going to come down, it's going to flood up, and I know it's going to be a lot more work, but I'm going to be a lot more secure there. I'm going to be a lot more stable there. And I kept thinking about that, man, the person who's living up there on the rock, he spent some time doing that. He had to dig deep. He had to take that time to really dig into that and get that foundation built there. But you know what? Once he did, there was no worries. No worries. His house was going to stand no matter what. He had the peace and joy that you guys desire right now. The thing that you're searching for in so many different ways. It can only be found in him. I mean, that surface of the rock, it represents stability. It represents strength that'll survive any storm. And then you have the other side of it. You have the sand foundation, the foolish man. And I think these guys, you know, the foolish guy was like, you know, but that's, you know, right here, man. This is the place, man. You know, I'm going to set my little foundation right here, get my cabana set up, I hear the stream. I can hear them out, sitting out there drinking, you know, their day juice or whatever they drank back then, you know, and just hanging out in his hammock, just enjoying life, not worried about it. But I tell you what, once those clouds started coming over, I wonder how at ease and at peace he was then. Because the only thought he had was the here and the now and about himself. You know, this is easier right here. And man, this is going to look nice right here. And it's all about what he wanted. And so these surfaces, for me, the sand represents a loose foundation. Shifting, uncertain. And I think some of us live our lives that way, on this kind of a foundation where it's loose, uncertain, instability. Because when the storms come our way, we start to get nervous. This morning, there was some stuff going on around here. I mean, I was pulled 15 different directions this morning. Fix this, pull that, there. And I was thinking, oh my God, thank you, Jesus. That's what I was saying, because, you know, the enemy's coming, so, okay, I'm ready for it, you know. I got peace about it. I prayed with hope was in her minute. I prayed with hope, you know, she was, it's hard to lead these things. I prayed with her out there, you know, it helped me. And Donna says, well, the light's coming down in the nursery, can you fix it? And oh, Barbara asked me, you think at the same time, the barbecue, the one thing inside wouldn't work? I'm going 15 different directions this morning. And I got a message to give you, which is the most important. And God said, you know what? Have peace, brother, I got you. Because your foundation is built on the rock, and I'm going to use you this morning. Amen. See, that's life. Because I could have let all that distraction, and there were a couple other things that went on this morning, I could let all that distraction mess me up. Where I was just so like unorganized, what am I going to do? But my foundation's built on the rock. Amen. And I know he loves me. I trust him. I know he's never going to leave me or forsake me. I know he's going to use me. I know all I got to do is stand up here and move my lips, and he's going to fill in the words. That's who my God is. Look, see, because the third part of this message, the third part of this story is the test. The storm comes. How many have been through a storm this past year? Or you still feel like you're in the middle of it? See, the storm is coming, and it doesn't come all of a sudden. I was sitting in the backyard, I think, last week, a couple Mondays ago, and there was just a calm in the air. There was a few clouds here and there, and just a nice breeze, and I said, this feels pretty good. And I started reading some of my books that I have to read for school, and I was sitting there, and I saw a few more clouds come in, and a couple of gushes of wind started to come in a little bit. I was a little chilly, some leaves were blowing around, and looked up, there's a few more clouds. Now there's this big dark one here, and I keep reading, and the wind's blowing a little bit more, and a little bit darker, and all of a sudden it just poured. I mean, it just poured. It looked like that thing was right over my house. You saw it a couple of weeks ago, we had those kind of rains. And these are these storms that come out. And you know the interesting thing about storms? They don't care whether your house is built on the rock or it's built on the sand. The storm is coming. It doesn't say, okay, you know, you're built on the sand, I'm just going to hang over your house. No, it doesn't work that way. We all got to go through it. That's the test. And these storms come in the way of afflictions, disappointments, losses, temptations, fears. And I think even to the point of where we start thinking about death. You do. And we have these storms that come our way. And so the question, you know, I keep having over as I'm doing this, I'm thinking to myself, man, you know, how firm is my foundation? Is my foundation stable? And God always has a way of encouraging me like he did this morning. And showing me right before I walked up here that my foundation is built on the rock. Amen. And Paul reminds us in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 11, he says, For no one can lay any foundation other than the one already laid with Jesus Christ. Amen. He is the only foundation. He's the only one that's going to stand, the only one that's going to withstand anything. It's the only foundation that's going to get you into eternity with him. It's to be built on him and him only. I found it interesting too in this passage that, in this parable, there's only two kinds of builders. There wasn't 3, 4, 5, 6 different ways to build things. There wasn't. There's only two. Either you're built it on a foundation of Jesus Christ, or you don't. And so many of us, but, no. Two foundations. Jesus Christ, or not. There's no other way. Building one's house on the rock means not only listening to the Lord, but out of gratitude for your salvation, putting those commands into practice, living it out in your life. The sensible man does this. And the foolish man continues to trust in himself, refusing to think about the future. And he does nothing. And most of us, most people look at the easy way. I try that too. I tried that. We look at the easy way out. That's what we want to do. We want the easy way out. But the easy way out all the time isn't going to handle the storms of life for you. And you will not spend time in eternity doing it that way. But placing your hope in God that dearly loves you will give you the hope that the world cannot give you. And again, I say it almost every week, I think that's the one thing that we're all searching for is peace and joy. And I just want peace. I just want a little bit of joy deep down where I can just enjoy life. Well, if you're worrying about your house, stand up. Because the foundation is built on Christ, you're never going to have peace and you're never going to have joy. See, the key thing to remember here is when the storms of life threaten, when the sky grows black, the wind starts to howl, the rain pours down, the key thing I want you to remember this morning, it isn't a matter of us holding on to Christ. It's not a matter of our own strength. It's a matter of Christ holding on to you. But you got to fall into his arms to do that so he can hold you. He's there wanting to hold you, but you won't fall into his arms and trust him enough to do that. And we try so hard on our own strength. We try to say, I can do this. And he's standing there with his arms wide. Just follow my arms. I'll hold you up. And we just can't do it. Because when he's holding you and you've fallen into his arms, there's nothing that can separate him from you.
Amen.
In Romans 8:27 through 27 through 29, it says, "No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I am convinced that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord."
Amen.
Nothing. Nothing. He's going to be there for you. He's going to hold you. He's going to get you through it. And when you begin to realize that and you begin to fall into his arms and you begin to like, wow, I like this. And there's going to be times where you got to go, oh man, but I want to go back and just stay in his arms. To just stay in his arms. It might have to be moment after moment. It might be an hour after hour. It might be day after day. Stay in his arms. Just do everything you can to stay there. Because after you're there for a little while, you begin to understand who he is and how much he really loves you and how much he really cares for you. This last couple of years, the Leaning Tower of Pisa was finally reopened to the public after having been closed for almost a dozen years. During that time, engineers completed a $25 million renovation project designed to stabilize the tower. They removed 110 tons of dirt, reduced it to its famous lean by about 16 inches. Why was this necessary? Because the tower had been tilting further and further away from the vertical for hundreds of years, to the point that the top of the 185-foot tower was 17 feet further south than the bottom. The Italian authorities were concerned that if nothing was done, it would soon collapse. What was the problem? Bad design, poor workmanship, inferior grade of marble? No. The problem was what was underneath. The sandy soil in the city of Pisa was built was just not stable enough to support the monument of this size. The tower had no firm foundation. See, the problem isn't the tower. The problem was the foundation it was built on. The problem isn't you. The problem is the foundation you're building your life on. We look and see, well, why are they that way? Why can't I have that? You don't know what they're going through in the first place. But you can see their peace and their joy and their love and their life, that you want that. Because their life is built on that firm foundation. So it's not about you, it's about that foundation you're building your life on. And think for a moment, just think for a moment. Just take a second and open your mind to this question: what is your foundation built on this morning? You know, if you were truly speaking with Jesus Christ, he was sitting next to the pew, he put his arm around you, he pulled you in close, and he says, I don't want to interrupt Pastor Don, he's doing a good job this morning, thank you, Jesus. You know, and he told me to say that. And he snuggles you in, and he whispers in your ear, and he says, what is your foundation built on? What would you tell him this morning? What would you tell him? Because he already knows. He already knows. So which builder are you this morning? Are you the wise one, or are you the foolish one this morning? Are you building on your life on Christ? Is he your foundation? Or are you relying on something else this morning? Or maybe someone else this morning to get you through the storms of life? And more importantly, the judgments to come. If that's the case, you're in a great peril this morning. I pray for you. I urge you this morning to come to Christ. You know, we don't know when those storms are coming. We don't know when Judgment Day is. And I wouldn't delay any longer if it was me. And it's real simple, because he's leaning into you right now. You know, if you get the worship team to come up, you know, if you can bow your head for a minute as they come up.